All right, hello and welcome, Constant Sports fans and friends. We're thankful for another episode here. I think this is episode number 70 coming up, and we have an exciting guest on the inside of kind of the mindset industry, the elite performance business and sports industry, and we're going to kind of chop it up with Shae McLean. So thanks for joining us today, Shae.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me, Connor. I have been looking forward to talking all things sports, but yeah, like you said, mindset and all the things inside sports and what that looks like. I was born and raised on an ice rink, so I know what being an athlete looks like on and off. Yeah, I just want to kind of pick your brain and dive into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we'll start kind of as you laid out there, kind of growing up on the ice rink, playing hockey, being an athlete and whatnot, kind of how that led you to where you're at today. Because obviously, being an athlete is going to give you a little bit of an insider's advantage when working with athletes and high performers. So, what did that, do growing up and then playing, I guess, hockey and, being an athlete? How's that transformed you?
For sure. I think where my passion really came in was when I was in college and I realized that sports in general, this thing that I did my entire life, it was my entire identity. Shae, the hockey player, Shae, the athlete, Shae, the jock chick, like every name you name it, I was probably called it. And it became my identity. And in college, which was now almost 6, 7 years ago, I realized this is becoming a job for me, sports. And I got lost in the game. I got lost emotionally in how I viewed sports, how I viewed my collegiate career. Outside of that, did I even want to play anymore? I lost the spark, is kind of where it all began. And throughout college, I loved every second of playing, but I realized that the biggest battle for me as an athlete was my mindset. I was up and I was down. My emotions were so invested to the game that I took it to the extremes. Bad game, bad shift, it was over for me. And I had issues with coaches even throughout my career because I didn't know how to handle and deal with my emotions. How can you set and leave those emotions at the door before you get on the rink? But we could say that in any department of life.
Right.
So this kind of circles into me building SCNA high performance, where it's something we've been chipping away at since I graduated college. I went off unconventionally and did a lot of different things, became an entrepreneur, and started building a team of people who understood in the sports world, but also just high performers, that niche of individuals. How can I unwire my thinking patterns and my emotions tied to my thinking patterns to rewire them and start again? And that's where SCNA comes in.
Perfect. Well, and kind of touch on that a little bit, but as far as you mentioned when you're an athlete, you kind of you're all in on being an athlete, and that affects the rest of your life. But how can athletes and even business people kind of leave those baggage or whatnot, for lack of a better term, kind of at the door and then go into kind of their field?
Yeah, I think it starts with learning how to manage your emotions firsthand. And when retire as a college athlete, even if you go pro, there's a day that your time is going to end and you're going to embark on other things like business. It correlates so well over to business, from being an athlete to an entrepreneur or just a strong person in the professional field. You know how to step up to the plate under pressure. But are you still taking care of your mind while doing all of these things? High performers go till they burn out. And I was one of those, not only athletes, but even business owners early on. I burnt myself out to the core. And I realized that that was the biggest separation for me hitting the next level as a high performer. Not just about resting and sleeping, but taking intentional time to, I'm going to use this word a lot today, but unwire your emotions, your thinking, your day, unwind from everything that's going on to get back to, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. What isn't and isn't working for me throughout my thinking? It all goes back to that. So
Is there a lot of they say like meditation, mindfulness, time outside? What's kind of the, I guess, go to, like for me, it's like the time outside in the mornings. I feel like it's pretty good way to start the day, get the mind rolling. But what's kind of, I guess it's probably different, but like the go to kind of, I guess, mental cocktail, so to speak.
For sure. It's different for every single vessel, I believe, walking out here on this earth. I know that there's certain things, though, that all of us can fuel from and infuse our body with to calm down. The silent present moment is the quickest way to get there. But even when you're sitting there, even clients I work with now, and we'll dive into strategy and stuff later, but they can sit in a room and it's quiet, but they can't quiet their mind. And you can do the meditations, you can read the books, you can do the meditative podcasts, and you can even take a lap outside in the morning. But are you willing to let your mind decompress in those moments? It's the willingness to allow those new spaces in. And that's where using and utilizing these techniques and ideas and perspectives with athletes is when Buddy doesn't blow a casket in the third period because he's on his third penalty of the game and he's playing like shit, you know? How can we pour into that athlete, even these younger guys, high school, who are just going through growth spurts and hotheads or emotional baggage because living at home is hell? I don't know what it's like, but I do know what it was like for me growing up. And I took all my emotional baggage from home and I brought it to the ring. Now, getting a little off topic, but business owners, athletes, practicing mindfulness, yes, but the willingness to allow your mind to be quiet. Just allow it for 30 seconds. Quiet it down.
Yeah, it probably seems like an eternity, when the mind's racing. Sure, it can do numbers. You've worked with obviously kind of the management, the training with the CEOs and entrepreneurs and athletes, and maybe talk to a little bit. You mentioned it, but kind of a strategy on with the CEOs, the entrepreneurs, and the athletes, and how they can. Obviously it's probably different for each one, kind of strategy wise. Each client's going to be different. But like the overall kind of case study, you could say, as we're trying to prepare for a game or prepare for a big meeting.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest keywords that I use and have been using and studying for years is metacognition. Have you heard of it before?
It's first time here.
First time. It is us going in and thinking about the way you think and learn. Cognition is memory, thinking, your first-hand tangibles. But metacognition and metacognitive strategies that we look at where we bring awareness around the way you think, but also the way you react. How are you reacting off impulse versus your intuitive nudge? Are you focusing on the fact that you're making the decision, or impulsively, and this can go onto the field or in a business meeting when it doesn't go your way, but are you just throwing the ball because you want to get it out of your hands, or passing the puck because you don't want to hold on to it because you got shaky hands? Or are you choking in a business meeting because you didn't clean up your thinking that morning? And simply because of that, you're not performing at the best level that you can be. I understand what that's like firsthand. This stuff came from me being a more so trial and error on self too.
Right.
I've worked with NFL players. I've worked with executives that are running companies that are blown out of the water. I'm working with directors for massive companies like Delta, and these people, all of them have one very common theme. They're still going to show up regardless of how they feel. But how are you taking care? Are you caring in general about how you feel? Because that's the key.
I think it's, you mentioned kind of showing up. I feel like that's a common theme with the success, the ultra successful or whatnot, is even if they don't want to do something or they don't want to do X, Y, or Z, they still show up. They're still showing up for, themselves, and also, right, every day. It doesn't matter. So I think that's a good kind of jumping point to, how, I was gonna say, examples of transformations, you've kind of seen through your coaching, but I would assume kind of that's one of the key pillars is just showing up and continue to kind of move forward day by day.
Yeah, it definitely is. I really have learned the toughest lessons. I've been taking L's for years. I have been sacrificing everything, leg and an arm, to make this business just build its foundation. I've been building a team of people. Thurman is even a great example of how we connected, but I've worked with him for years on just team building. And when you are a high performer, even if you're a top athlete on any team in the country, how are you helping build your team around you? How are you constantly pouring into everyone around you making them feel seen. And that's kind of where SENA started, just with like the bare basic values of, okay, I know I want to do this, I know I want to do that, but I really know my value as a woman in the business field, in the sports world, and it's to empower the people around me. That's the type of player I always was. We're going to laugh in the locker room and get some dancing going, but we're also going to go out and kick ass.
Yep.
You can do both.
Yep.
And it's the same in business too. Everyone's so uptight all the time. We got to loosen up a bit, and that starts with just cleaning it up in the mind, you know?
I like that one. I think especially in sports, and there's a lot of similarities with teams, right, in business, but kind of that camaraderie and you building the, whatever they call it, the brotherhood, right? Football, the
Yeah.
sisterhood, the type of thing. Like building that up, I think is key. And especially you've probably seen this with athletes nowadays in the college space. There's a lot of transient with the kids hitting the transfer portal, and you hear a lot of the coaches and administrators saying, the biggest success, right, is that we can all kind of buy into the approach or the philosophies of the program. So I think that kind of goes in hand to hand with what you're saying, getting everyone on the same page, getting everyone on the same boat and going in the same direction. I think is makes a big positive, right, in a team, in a company, etc.
Yeah. And that directly correlates to leadership too. Whether I'm talking about how I lead my business and my team, or you're talking about an athlete leading a team, everything stems from leadership. Even if you're working in a restaurant behind a bar, you got your bar back, your bartender, all these things. I bartended for years to help fund my business. And the thing is, a good night like that, when everyone's making money, everyone's just spot on. Even the managers walking around happy. It stems from the leadership. It stems from setting the tone at the beginning of the shift, the beginning of the game, the beginning of your business meeting or working with your clients, but the beginning of your day.
Yep, no doubt. And I think that, it's a great kind of reminder, especially people can get bogged down in their schedules and in their, whatever they're doing, but to kind of remember that, it all starts kind of at the beginning, kind of set your day, set your plan going forward. And speaking on kind of setting a plan and building a foundation, I want to touch a little bit about, kind of you building your business and entrepreneurship. And, so what was it? You said you've been doing it for a few years now. So what's been like from start to kind of where you're at now? Some of the trials, some of the roadblocks.
Yeah, it is. And I will be blunt about this, but it has been almost hell for the last 2 years specifically. We made it to year 5. It's a blessing, But entrepreneurship has been the hardest, hands down, thing I have ever done in my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't. But I do think sports and being an athlete my whole life literally built me for this moment of running my own business, because I love to be able to operate every day how I want to operate. Now, you might have to have the side gigs for a few years. You might have to find ways to get investors and build clientele and relationships with people who see what you're doing. It's not going to happen overnight. About 7 years ago, roughly, I had just graduated from St. Thomas, played hockey. In 4 of those years, we went to almost every MIAC championship and then hosted the Frozen Four for the first time ever. We were number 1 in the country the whole year. And I ended up actually slicing my right leg open that year too. We have an artery in our right leg, this close to just absolutely out. We almost bled out. Well, I almost bled out. We had to shove a towel in my leg. And I'm bringing all this up because I literally almost died from playing hockey. This big identity to who I thought I was. And everything started to shift. Like I had said at the beginning of our conversation, colleges when the downloads started trickling in. I sold all my stuff after I graduated. I had 1 suitcase to my name. And I ended up moving to Florida for a little bit. Had no clue what I wanted to do, quit everything, saved up all my money that I could for months working at bartending gigs and whatever else. And then I moved to Mexico for like 9 months. And I kid you not, I was broke, lost, confused. But one thing I did have during that 9 months of, it was like a soul searching vibe. And I was blessed to be able to do it, but I had a vision for the first time in my life. I wasn't just chasing some vision that was for somebody else. I love to play sports, don't get me wrong. But there's so much more to life. Like being able to get the downloads that you want to build the business, and you can build whatever business you want. Johnny or Jimmy did it, so why can't you? It's literally that simple. At the time, I didn't believe in myself at all, though. I was like, oh, okay, let's just throw the towel and see what happens. 5 years later, almost here, we're on this podcast. But SCNA started from me wanting to help athletes and high performers recreate their story with their mind and their body. I was really big on the body piece because I had a lot of issues as an athlete and being a woman my whole life with my body. And it wasn't until I became a high performing fitness trainer where I learned how important it is to recreate how you view and feel within your body. Preach that to all my clientele now. Athlete, executive. I mean, I'm training an executive right now. She called me last week. I need you 4 times at 4:30 a.m. this week. Let's go. I've been up at 4:30 every day this week. It's been great. But that's where, our value lies in SCNA. We're constantly putting people in a position to feel empowered and recreate their story. She's been out of the gym for about 2 months. She had some travel going on. She kind of fell off. She's right back in it. You can always recreate your story every single day. And I had to do that for myself because I, at one point, didn't even know if I wanted to be here anymore. Years ago, I was so lost because I wanted so much more for myself than just being some jock chick who's enlightened or something. That's what my business mentor always calls me. He's like, you're just some enlightened jock chick. And I'm like, well, I guess we can run with it.
You mentioned kind of the journey going on and also some of your clients, but what's it been like, in the past several years, kind of building up that clientele? I'm sure it's a lot of rejections and things like that, but as you've been building up your business, specifically with those clients, and then obviously, creating those relationships was probably key, right? Kind of the first initial meetings and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. I think this goes back to team. Like I look at my clients as a team because every day you show up, you give me the opportunity to show up and get better at my job. And that's huge. You could even use us as an example right now. I came onto your podcast, which is so dope to me that you're doing this stuff. Literally lights me up, you're going out of your way to show up. This is another opportunity for us to create dialogue that can help other people just have perspective. I will say there's been ups and downs with building clientele, and any entrepreneur could probably say that, but you're going to have months where it's up and you're going to have months where it's down. You're going to have months where you got $0 in the bank account. Literally, you're still knowing intuitively, though, this is the path I need to continue down on. It might not look like it in the 3D, that things are panning out. For a long time, it actually might never look like it. But I truly do believe that everything conspires for you to align with the next piece to your levels. And I can say from every connection to every conversation to every intuitive nudge I had to say, go here, go there. It led me to a new client. It led me to great relationships, and it led me to opportunities where I'm traveling with clients for the past year, and I've been in 9 different countries working with these executives. We're in Taiwan for 72 hours, but we're there.
Yeah.
And never in a million years, Connor, would you be able to get me to believe I'd be living this type of lifestyle. But it came with the absolute tenacity and grit and drive to just keep chipping away, just like you would to get better at hockey or get better at basketball, whatever sport you play. It's chipping away, and success is bestowed upon you. Opportunities are bestowed upon you. You can't miss it. And I'm a testimony of that.
Yeah, well said. And I think that, you mentioned kind of bettering yourself, kind of building your own foundation. What are some things, whether it's books, shows, literature, whatnot, that you kind of do, or you kind of, maybe show some of your clients, like, hey, you should start incorporating these habits or these fundamentals into their lives to kind of, get better?
Yeah, I call them focus maps right off the bat. It's something that I've been creating for myself since I was in high school. It's also a tool that I utilize one-on-one with my clients every week. If we're doing 6-week development courses, whether it's a acceleration course you're taking with me, whether you're just doing management and we're checking in 45 minutes once a week, we're creating focus maps. What that looks like, just a piece of paper broken down into 4 sections. You write personal, professional, finances, other. That's it. And every single day you focus and you write down in each of those squares, what do I need to get done in these departments? What bill do I need to pay even in my finances? Other, did I put a note to call my doctor's office because I haven't been to the doctor in a year? You know, stuff like that, where it's not a checklist. It's a focus map of all the things you need to just focus on. I really push all of my clients to step away from checklists and I gotta get this done. When you put yourself on that frequency, you instantly already resent it to some extent. I don't care who you are. You can't tell me when you make a long checklist of things you have to do, you don't want to do half of them. Yeah. And even if you have the intention to do it because it's going to help whatever you're doing in your life, what project, whatever, it's still procrastination. I procrastinate every day, but I always get it done. It's a good example that people can use, and it's the little routines and the little habits that you keep doing on a day-to-day basis that all add up.
I like it. No, yeah, I like is a focus map. You should trademark that and
should, right?
for people to start stealing that idea. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of goes into the transformations of, the clients and people themselves, right? And kind of building, like you said, the team and your company and the overall business landscape of things. But as you kind of grow and build out the company and the brand, what is kind of next steps? What's on the horizon for you and your team?
Yeah, so much change is happening right now. I'm actually on Sunday flying to Argentina for a whole entire month, and we are building and working, and basically every day is a workshop day for my new website that's going to be coming. I am sick and tired of not having a very concrete resource for my clients to come see the services I offer, but also just see what we got going on real quick. So we've been chipping away for 7 months at that, and SCNA is soon going to be virtual, and it's going to be virtual for a while. Taking clients abroad, my lease is up here in Minneapolis just in about a month. So I come back, U-Haul's ordered, pack up a few things, go back down to like a suitcase, and then I'm going to be traveling for the next few months again and just building, working, kind of hitting the books. Because I've been having my head down building from all the books I read and studied and used for years. I just picked my head up about 7 months ago and realized, wait, we didn't make it. It's not like that, but we did this. We built a foundation. We built a team. I have such a great team, and shout out to all of them for helping me consistently build on socials, in the gym, just in life. It's the team thing. I'm going to keep bringing that up too. But if you have a solid team in your corner, you can build a business so quick. It's actually crazy.
Right. It's all about the people.
That's it. That's literally it. And everybody can just do their part. And my goal is to be able to pay all my people as much as I can. This is just off them being creative and doing what they want to do. That's what this is meant to be. I was just chosen in this life to build this creation that's unique to me, just like you're doing for you.
Right. Yeah. I like that a lot. I like the kind of overarching theme. I feel like is kind of, going within yourself and building it and kind of extracting it and, kind of putting these things into life, I guess, itself, right? Building, what's inside of us. And before we kind of close or whatnot, are there any topics or things that, you want to close us out on or that we didn't touch on that you want to kind of share to the audience and viewers?
I don't have many topics. I will say the only way through the hard shit is to go through it, to get on the other side, which I was fighting the struggle for years trying to build a business. I also fought the struggle for years being an athlete, wanting to play in college, and I would do anything just to go shoot pucks, but burn myself out to the point I didn't even want to look at a puck for weeks. You still have to go through the hard shit, and you got to shoot 100 extra pucks than buddy next to you, because that's literally what it comes down to. And the only way through is through it. That's what I got to leave you with. I appreciate you, Connor, having me on today. And I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to share my experiences. And I'm just letting all athletes out there know you are stronger than your mind tries to tell you sometimes. Just focus and loosen up a bit.
It's a great close, and we appreciate you sharing those
Yeah.
insights and wisdom for the athletes and business people out there. And before we go, Shae, where can future clients and others who want to connect find you? You said your website's almost done, but
Yeah.
the socials and things like that.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram right now and TikTok. It's SEA and then associates tied to that A. Shae-Elle and Associates, High Performance. You can find us on both platforms, and email and all contact through Instagram. So shoot me a DM if you want to chop it up there. Otherwise, come check us out. We got some cool content. My team goes crazy with it. I'm so grateful for them too. So yeah, thank you again, Connor. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, anytime. And so, like she said, listeners, viewers, make sure to check that out and drop a line. And thanks for all those who tuned in and listened. And this has been another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. We'll see you next week.